Hello, and welcome to the... Hey!
Hey!
Us. The
guys.
the InGeneral Podcast. Episode 90.
We're back.
We're back.
Again.
How many times now?
We're back now. It's gonna be stable now.
We made our amazing comeback to herds of people applauding, crowds of cheers, whoops, Bigfoot knocking on trees, and that was in 2020, right? How many episodes did we drop out then? During the pandemic, when everyone was abusing the internet, live streaming, everybody and their grandmother was streaming.
What did we do? I think we did.
Episodes.
We had maybe one episode.
No, we had a fair few in 2020, but then we suddenly dropped off the face of the earth once again, which is kind of tradition now.
Yeah, I think that it'd be almost alarming if it didn't happen every so often.
Yeah, I think if the InGeneral was there consistently and you felt safe knowing that there was a new episode coming,
where would the fun
be? Right? It ruins the fun. But we're back. Welcome to the InGeneral Podcast. My name is Jack, and I'm joined with Christopher James Pugh. This is episode 90 of the InGeneral Podcast. His middle name is not James. I don't actually know your middle name.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys that doesn't have it. Actually, his name is Chris. His middle name is Topher.
Yeah, no, that's the truth. The truth of it. My name is not Christopher. It's Chris Topher.
Yeah. Like Topher, the guy from
Grace.
That show.
Topher Grace.
Is it Topher Grace?
I think.
Topher, the guy from...
you're talking about the dude that was in Predators?
That 70s show.
And Venom. Wasn't he Venom?
Wasn't Tom Hardy Venom?
No, like Venom and the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
Oh.
I think. I genuinely might be making this up.
I think he was in that series. But this isn't the Spider-Man Outpost, Chris. This is the Jurassic Outpost, and we're here to talk about Jurassic Park.
Spider Outpost. Arachnid Outpost.
I'd never be a part of that. That would freak me out. We're back. And long story short, there's no real... I mean, there are many reasons as to why there was a little gap, a little hiatus. One of them being, I was emigrating, so I moved country. We had a lot to set up, and if you've been following any of our work, me and Chris have been a little bit busy doing Beyond the Gates.
Very, very busy.
A little
bit.
Yeah.
It's not been like a point of negativity or anything that we haven't been keeping up with it. It's literally just been like life is happening, so it's very hard to keep up with the podcast.
Yeah. So get off our backs, Jesus Christ, guys, give us a break. But no, it's nice to record a podcast. Me and Chris recorded a Evolution 2 teaser trailer breakdown, and we ended up going for like an hour and a half, and it's
pretty much a podcast. Yeah, it was sort of like an unofficial episode.
Yeah, it reignited that desire to want a pod, and here we go, episode 90. So it was great to talk to you, Chris. And I guess, episode 91, we'll go through the stuff.
Yep. I hope you enjoyed. Catch you next time. This has been InGeneral.
Catch you on the flip. We're currently at 4 minutes. The shortest episode yet. But it is amazing. After all this time, we have yet to reach episode 100. And I think that is a case of, come on, it's quantity. Nope, it's quality.
It's definitely not quantity. It's definitely not quantity.
No.
I'm curious. We might be able to pound our way there pretty quickly, depending on just how things go, because there seems to be a lot. Yeah. There seems to be a lot happening with Jurassic, between Camp Cretaceous, video games, potentially Jurassic World Evolution 2, Jurassic World Dominion, which we have a lot to talk about today.
We do. That was a lovely segue, Assis. And that's one person that we miss dearly, Assis, who is currently defending our freedom and our rights. And
your freedom, your rights.
My freedom and my rights, yeah.
Canadian freedom, right?
Assis will be back. He will be joining us at some point soon. Dominion. So I don't know if you know this, Chris, but there is a 5-minute preview of Dominion currently showing in IMAX theaters. Now, their decision for it to be IMAX only was obviously inspired by the fact that every city, every town, everywhere has an IMAX cinema. So
let's get into this.
It really does help. Okay, so just prefacing this before we start, just calm down. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. We all have opinions. We all have a view on this. And yeah, it probably was not the best way to do it. But at the end of the day, if you are lucky enough to get the chance to see it, it's awesome. You will see it at some point. I do feel bad for the people that probably won't ever get to see it. But you're still going to get to see Dominion. In theory, all this stuff's going to be in Dominion.
Well, I mean, here's the problem, is the Cretaceous period segment of it, and we'll talk a lot more about the footage. As of right now, that's currently not in the film, so this might be the only way to see this on the big screen. Some of this footage, this might genuinely be the only way to see it on the big screen. The other thing is the concept of this footage was, let's get people back into theaters. But if you're tying it only to IMAX, which are so limited globally, you're not getting people back in the theaters. You're only getting enthusiasts that go to IMAX theaters back in the theaters, and that's such a small amount of people. So you're not really putting this in front of as many eyes as possible. You're also not adding incentive for as many people to go back and return to theaters. So, I mean, it seems like a typical, the idea was there, and they completely just failed to stick the landing. And then the other thing and I'm seeing a lot of it. A lot of people I know saw the movie Fast 9 and or Furious 9, F9, the Fast Saga, Family 9. Anyhow, a lot of people saw that in IMAX, and they're like, hey, the footage didn't play in front of it. And
I've seen a bit of that. Yeah, that's you got pranked by Colin. That was a classic prank. It's like part of the new show. It's going to roll through the credits. It's just footage of people going to the cinemas, wanting to see the Dominion preview and not seeing it, and it's their reaction. You know how they marketed the Paranormal Activity films with filming people in the cinemas reacting.
Oh yeah, just marketing with just pure disappointment, just like what the?
You get to see the scene. Yeah, no. And so, am I right in thinking? Okay, so the fact that it's attached to F9 is obviously because Universal Pictures produced those two franchises, and because there's a crossover.
The crossover
being developed and built. A Jurassic Park, Fast and Furious, family ties kind of thing.
Jurassic Fast,
Jurassic, Jurassic 2 Park.
Didn't we have an episode of the podcast named that once?
2 Jurassic 2 World. Yeah, I think it's when Fallen Kingdom got announced or something. But there's going to be a crossover, so that's what we want to talk about today. Is the being with F9. You can have your opinion on F9. That's fine. I'm not a fan of the franchise. I love the originals, but
I couldn't
silly, goofy movies. But they're Universal movies, so it makes sense why it's that. But it should have been, in my opinion, in every cinema showing F9. Because then so many more people would have been able to see it. I still had to drive an hour to see it. And I live in a big city in Canada, and there isn't an IMAX that's not an hour away. So it's kind of like
and on top of that, given the global health situation, I mean, some people, they're like, oh yeah, I live within a few hours of an IMAX. I could go travel to see it, but it's in a different region than mine, and traveling out of my region is illegal. Now, that's obviously not the case in the United States, but in other countries, places like Australia and whatnot, you're not allowed to go, is it states or a region? I'm not entirely
Australia, you're not allowed to go in your own house. It's crazy there.
Yeah, but no, for real. So it is unfortunate that they kind of had such a goofy rollout with this in a situation. I don't know. I don't know if they thought it through. So the question is will the footage go online? I don't know if anyone really knows the answer, and I'm of two minds if whether or not it should or not. If this Cretaceous period footage is going to be placed back into the movie, I don't necessarily think it should be sitting online for a full year. That people can just keep rewatching it and rewatching it and rewatching it, and everyone will see it, because it kind of removes the novelty of it, and it's going to kind of feel like old and tired by the time the movie comes around. However, if they do stick to their guns, and for whatever reason it's been removed from the movie and it stays out of the movie, then I hope that they put it online, and hope they put it online soon.
Agreed. Yeah, I think it's a great tease. It is something that can go happily on YouTube, the same way, for example, the first 8 minutes, I think it was, of Stranger Things was dropped on YouTube on the Netflix account.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something
like before the show came out, and it was like
before
sets you up and builds you up for it. But yeah, a week before.
A week before, not an entire year. That's the thing. I'm not saying that you can't have this if it were going to be in the film. I'm not saying you can't have it out there, but it's way too early for that right now, in my opinion. So I do understand the concept of maybe like even like why Colin maybe wouldn't want it online at this time, because it's like, well, hey, if it's going to be in the film, I get it. Like, don't get me wrong. Me personally, I'd love to be able to watch it in HD and everything along those lines as much as I'd like. I'd love to be able to get screen caps of everything inside of it, but I can understand why that might not happen. It's just I wish
it's not the end of the world if you miss it, because
unless of course it changes or
it sucks. You wouldn't want to miss that. But many of us, I mean, like I'm lucky to have, because cinemas in the UK brought it back in, the original film prints and stuff. But many of us haven't seen Jurassic Park in cinemas because we were kids when it came out. We were too young. So it's not the end of the world. It sucks, but you're still going to get to see Dominion in cinemas. We have another year to go. And, you know, in theory, some of that footage, if not all of it's going to be in the movie too. So, but I do understand the frustrations. It sucks, man. I mean, like, I drove an hour to see it and had booked the wrong cinema. So the first night was an utter waste of time. we were sat in the IMAX in this cinema. We'd gone through all the ticket checks and the COVID checks and like crap. And sat in the cinema and I'm like, come on, man, what's going on? It should be ads by now. We're like 20 minutes in. I was like, went out and they were like, there's no IMAX screening today. I was like, what the fuck? You let us through.
That's the funny part. That's the funny part to me, is the fact that they like took your tickets and you ended up inside of a theater that just wasn't running. Yeah, like that it got like, that far.
Yeah. We spoke to the manager and I said, like, it's funny, the manager, his favorite movie was Jurassic Park. It was a Cineplex in Canada, so they do. I think most cinemas do that, where they have the person's favorite movie on the name tag, unless his name was just Jurassic Park. That could have been his name. Anyway, the manager, I was asking, I was like, look, we're here for the Dominion preview. I'm not going to lie. I paid for Fast 9. I'm here for Dominion. Can you just show me the preview quick? You know? Showed him I was wearing my Jurassic Outpost press hat. So, you know, with the little press thing in it that says press, you know, the little piece of paper like in the 40s. But
in the 40s,
yeah, no, IMAX takes a couple of hours to warm up. He was like, we shut her down for the night. So that didn't work out. That was funny. So, you know, minor frustration there, but it made me laugh more than anything. I found that quite funny. And then I was driving home laughing, thinking, all my friends are seeing it. Like you were at the cinema seeing it at that time.
Yeah, that was... I remember checking the messages like in the morning and being like, wait, what happened?
Yeah. So we were lucky enough to go see it the next night. But yeah, and it is an experience. So I guess let's jump in, man. I mean, like we knew about the scene because this is one thing that really it didn't bother me. It was just, it didn't make sense, is that they showed the preview to all these giant you know, news blogs, film blogs, /film places like that, which is great. But then these places were allowed to describe the scene in extraordinary detail.
So that's the thing.
The dinosaurs. There was no like.
There was no surprises, really.
You know, you write about the scene, but don't say what dinosaurs are in it, or write about the scene, but don't necessarily mention specifics. And it's just, why were they able to go like shot by shot?
Yeah, we had literally the day that they announced it, we had an entire breakdown of everything within the footage from multiple different press outlets. And it just sort of makes no sense to me. You think that would have been timed, like, hey, you can have your very detailed breakdowns once this footage is out there publicly. Like, you know, what was the official, like, what was the date that they marketed it as? When did Fast 9 come out in the US?
Of June?
Well, yeah, whatever it was.
I think
it should have been like, hey, that's when you can post your spoiler breakdowns, and then you could have your like kind of teaser articles or whatnot beforehand. But yeah, it was so weird. I was like reading it, I'm like, oh, okay, I know exactly what's in the footage now. Entirely.
Yeah, and I don't know why they didn't give people a chance to go to the cinemas themselves and see it. I almost think, I understand this, well, I don't know why this couldn't happen, but man, wouldn't it have been cool if they just didn't announce anything?
Nah.
Some of the people that went to see Fast 9 were like, there's one tweet comes out and it's like, there's a fucking Dominion video in front of Fast 9. People, the viral on that.
That I mean, I wouldn't surprise me if that was maybe the intentions at a point. I mean, that's what they wanted to do with Big Rock at a point. You know, after 10 Cloverfield Lane did its thing, everyone wanted to mimic and do that. But ultimately, I think something with like Jurassic, I think it makes more sense to tell fans in advance so that they don't, because otherwise people be sat at home and going like, well, what the fuck? I could have went and watched it, but I don't like these Fast and the Furious movies because they haven't been good for 3 films. And also, let me just flat out say, Fast 9, really not good. I mean, like, I've enjoyed some of the silliness of like those past Fast and the Furious films, but my goodness, it was not good.
What?
It was Fast 9.
I thought it was pretty much on par with like.
I thought it was. It was just not good.
No, I had a good time. I was a little bit blazed, but it was okay. You know, it was what it was. It's absolutely nothing like the original Fast and Furious.
It takes itself too seriously, though, for how ridiculous it is. So, like, every scene that Vin Diesel was in, it's like he thinks these movies are super serious, and then it's like they take the internet memeing the family stuff as, like, the internet loving the family stuff.
Not taking the piss,
it takes... like they're being made fun of for like how silly it's all about family. But the problem is the movie doesn't realize that it's like a joke. Like it's really melodramatic, and it just was such a slog to get through. There is this crazy violent fight scene with Vin Diesel that goes on way too long, which is like hyper violent and then like has a lot of slow motion moments where like somebody's at a door and like she never leaves the door, and it's I don't know, the whole movie is just ridiculous, but not always. When it's ridiculous in a ridiculous way, I enjoy it. Like when it's funny and silly, I enjoy it. But when it's like honestly, anything with Vin Diesel in that movie just wasn't good. And I don't necessarily dislike him, but it's like he wants these movies to be something that they're not. And it just felt like studio notes, the movie. Anyhow, we're not here to talk about that, but my God, like it was sort of nerve-wracking watching that and kind of like feeling like you could almost feel like where the studio notes had come from, where like what marketing things they're trying to even like had a Minions mention. It's sort of scary when you like, you know, like the way movie studios can sometimes have a lot of, you know, they have a lot riding on these big tentpole films, and when you can see it that obviously, and then you got something like Jurassic coming out, sometimes it is nerve wracking. Given Jurassic's never felt like studio notes the movies and Fast and Furious movies have for a little while, so I don't know. I was just like, there's a part of me that was like, oh, this is like a little nerve wracking.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It was strange. It was nothing like the original Fast and Furious movies. The franchise has gone crazy. I mean, they even end up in space at one point, and it's funny, but it's also kind of like.
Well, see, I liked those moments more than I liked anything that.
Funny, but they're played out in this reality of the movie, and you're just, oh my God, they're in a fucking car. It doesn't work, but you got to.
It works more than
for that movie.
It works more than the times the movie tries to take itself seriously, though. In my opinion,
I agree with that. Did you see that meme with Well, obviously, there's all these memes going around. You know, nothing's stronger than family and all the shit. But there's the one with the T-Rex, and they're like, Dom, what are you doing? And he's like, a T-Rex is strong, but not as strong as family. And it's the scene on the T-Rex breakout scene. And he's like stood there in the rain with a gun. Like,
I'm not going to lie. Yeah, no, I've seen it. I've wanted to follow that up with the 2 Tyrannosaurs from the Lost World eating Eddie, but like Photoshop it as Dom.
Oh, yes.
I mean, hey, nothing's stronger than family. So a Tyrannosaur family, sorry, buddy, but that's the family that wins.
That's true. That's some 4D chess right there. You got him. So did you see that F9 star Chris Ludacris Bridges has responded to fans, or to calls by fans, for a crossover between Fast and Furious and Jurassic World? He thinks the idea is ridiculous.
Oh, see, I like him.
He thinks it's ludicrous. He was like, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my entire life. I'm just going to be honest with you. Look, they surprised me in this franchise with a lot of things of how we continue to top ourselves, but nowhere in my right mind do I see Jurassic World and Fast and the Furious coming together. Maybe they got to convince me, but I just don't see it. That's ludicrous, pun intended, for sure. I mean...
what's funny is I don't find it that out of line for the Fast and the Furious movies. It's for the Jurassic. It's like, whatever, Fast and the Furious movies at this point, if they're like, yeah, there's dinosaurs, like, it's like, okay, cool, I can accept it in those movies. Well, I can't accept
some location in the world. Well, yeah, they would end up on a mission on his
I don't know. It better never happen.
Yeah, no, I think I think the Jurassic World franchise right now is kind of on a tightrope, and it could go down that blockbuster route and just become the silly thing that people are trying to push it into,
Yeah, well,
or it can
the only
have
people that are,
things like Camp Cretaceous that tries to pull it back a little bit, and then in season 2 pushes it back over the other side, and then,
and
comes
then
back.
season 3, and then it comes right back home.
But you know what I mean? It's like trying to ground it in some form of reality, or it just goes the other side and goes to Fast and Furious, and they do a crossover, and it becomes.
And then this franchise is extinct.
It is. But let's talk about this scene. So Fast 9, whatever. But this scene plays almost without warning.
It does. It almost, there's a part where you're like, are they not playing the Dominion preview? Like, is it just going straight in the movie?
You said they showed the IMAX introductions before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like it was like basically, and now your feature film, and then like it did like the IMAX countdowns and everything, and then the Dominion preview started playing. But because it opens like in a vague way that you don't know there's dinosaurs or anything, at first I was like, did we just not get the footage? And then you realize, oh, there's dinosaurs, this is the footage. But then you could tell that my theater was sort of confused, where they're like, wait, is this meme happening? And then there was like a lot of like audible confusion of like people thinking they're in the wrong movie and stuff like that. It was kind of funny. Like,
yeah, maybe they shouldn't have given theaters the option to choose where it goes. But
they should.
I saw it, it was before. It was after a load of trailers and stuff, and then it was before like your feature IMAX. Welcome to IMAX.
It should have at least had something, and now like an exclusive preview of an upcoming 2022 film, something like that, so people knew as a preview. And I don't know. Anyhow.
Yeah. But it was fun. So it opens on the island of Socotra, right? Which is where that is of Dominion.
That is where they filmed. I don't think that's where that's not where it is like fictionally set.
So the scene is set 65 million years ago, which I don't know if you know this, Chris. Humans weren't around then, so there were dinosaurs. And the scene opens, and it was filmed in Socotra. And I can't remember exactly what it opens on, like just that kind of a landscape shot. It's dusk, right?
Yeah. It's like sort of dusky. You know, we're in golden hour. There's some mountains, sun setting. It's sort of beautiful. I think there's some trees. It's got like this. Yeah, it's just those dragon blood trees, I think they're called. It just immediately looks very stunning and beautiful.
Yeah, and then there's a fake out, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but the fake out is from the novel.
Yeah, it's from the novel, and it's from the original movie. They didn't film it, where Grant mistakes the brachiosaur leg as a tree trunk before you realize, oh my god, it's a dinosaur leg.
You're on it, and then he realizes it's a
yeah.
So that happens in this, except he's not. It's not Grant. Grant's not urinating on it. It's actually a mosquito.
No, not a mosquito. It's like a grasshopper, a cicada, a locust, something along those lines.
Yeah.
That lands on the leg of a Dreadnoughtus. Of course, you don't. Well, I think that you can tell it's a leg, but it's sort of like you don't fully realize it's a leg until the camera pans and then the animal starts moving.
Yeah, it starts like moving through the mud of Socotra or whatever this land is supposed to represent. Yeah. And then I think it kind of reveals like a herd of them, right?
Yeah. Like they're by a lake or a river or something along those lines.
And these are Dreadnoughtus.
Yes, they are Dreadnoughtus, and it's cool. It's a really beautiful scene. Their designs are pretty damn accurate as far as I can tell. It's cool. Some of them are actually standing in the water, and it's just these animals are titanic. They are larger than, I would say they're like larger than even the Memenchis. I don't know how to say it, but the Memenchisaurus or whatever. In
Lost World, long neck,
yeah,
right?
Definitely larger than the Brachiosaur. These things are huge.
Yeah. So they're standing on this landscape that kind of reminds me of like Skull Island when he comes out in the lake and washes himself. It's got that kind of large, wide open behemoth.
I was just gonna say this whole thing feels like Planet Earth.
Yeah, it does. It's clear Colin had like a goal and intention with this scene to make it feel like you're a fly on the wall. Or hang on, a mosquito on a dinosaur. Come on, that's the one. That's the one. God's sake. But yeah, so it kind of shows you this landscape. I can't remember exactly what happens, but some pteranodons are there.
Yeah, so the camera then pans, and the Quetzalcoatlus fly as a like kind of flock of pteranodons are taking off from the water, and they're so small that they look like birds, but they're not small. They just look small compared to the Dreadnoughtus and the Quetzalcoatlus, which just towers over them. And a Quetzalcoatlus comes in and soars in, and it lands next to like the corpse of something that some pteranodons are on, and then there's some other Quetzalcoatlus behind it.
Yeah, they look fake. They look like some sort of like horror movie-esque thing. You know, this giant flying bipedal almost.
It's really, that's what's really striking about the Quetz is it's such a unique looking, weird looking animal. And in fact, they actually, to make them look a little bit more natural to like people, they gave them larger wings in Dominion than they have in real life. So they would even look like almost faker, if that makes sense in reality.
Wow.
But these designs are very accurate. All the same, even though there are some changes there, I would say the tail is probably way too long and its droopiness is a little weird, and the wings are a little too big. But otherwise, these are strikingly great looking.
Okay, hang on. Let me just draft a tweet to Steve just to tell him how wrong you got it. Steve.
So what's cool is they're completely covered in phinofibers. Which are, people might mistake them as feathers, but they're like fur.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Completely covered in them. They've got these long sort of pointed, curved orange beaks. They've got these blue crests atop their head. Their skin their fur. I even called it fur. The phinofibers seem to be like a whitish gray color.
And the animation. I mean, ILM have really upped their game here.
Well,
I think that's one thing I tweeted was the scene as a whole is a huge improvement over the first two movies, and
for the first time,
I don't just mean the VFX. I don't just mean the CG dinosaurs. As a whole, it feels way
the camera work. But for the first time, the dinosaurs actually, I could believe them as real living things within the frame in the Jurassic World films. That's something that I don't think the Jurassic World films has done a good job with.
No,
I think
the way it lands as well. It just reminds me.
The animation is on another level.
Yeah, it reminds me of the final shot in the Lost World where the Lost World pteranodon ends up landing on the tree, and that's kind of reminds me of how this Quetzalcoatlus.
Yes. Except for this one actually has proper anatomy and skeletal structure and whatnot, whereas the Lost World Pteranodon, as much as I love it, that the way that it lands and everything like that, that's so off. But it's very natural. So taking the realism out of it, it's just also very naturalistic. They seem very like motivated the way animals would be motivated. They're acting like animals, taking like the realism of like even the fact that the anatomy is correct as well. It just also just the way they move and the decisions they're making as animals seems informed and natural, and everything about this, it's like, wow, they remembered how to make me feel awe-inspired by dinosaurs again, which is something that I feel like the Jurassic World films have just completely missed the note on, is the fact that these things should be awe-inspiring, and they can be scary as well. And I hope that I know that this scene's supposed to be its own thing, but I hope that it's like I hope it shows us the way the dinosaurs will be treated within the film. Because if they're like this, then you get these scenes where then people have to interact with it and then things can go awry. The movie's just going to be something very, very special.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you're right. It just seems so natural. They seem so, I just remember them being it felt like Planet Earth. Like you were just watching realism. So after you see the Quetz, where do we go from there? Is it an Ankylosaur? You see some Ankylosaurs, or was it the other shot? Because there was this really cool bit where it seems more tropical, and you go, is it? Was it?
So you go to the Ankylosaurs. I have the shot list in front of me. I have everything written down. Okay. Yeah, I did my prep on
reveal, right?
Yeah. So, okay. So here's the thing that's really interesting about this footage, and we can talk a little bit more in detail about this afterwards of like, hey, what does this footage do well? Maybe where is it a little confusing? But the Jurassic World Ankylosaurs, they're not like realistic. They're not the way, like the way the bony plates are, the way they're armored, their body shape, everything like that. That's actually just not the way Ankylosaurs look. So it's a little weird suddenly seeing these Ankylosaurs looking true to their Jurassic World selves, and that's the same with the Pteranodons, which we saw prior and after to this. It's a little strange. that we're supposed to be 65 million years in the past, and some of these animals are going to look different in the footage, and then some aren't. And there seems to be no clear. While there's definitely clear direction on how the scene was filmed and how the animals move and animate in the mood it's supposed to showcase, what we're actually seeing on screen doesn't seem to have much clear direction. Like, I'm not exactly. Honestly, I just kind of wish this footage was modern day. I could buy it as modern day outside of obviously.
So you're saying the Ankylos that are in this scene are the ones that are in Jurassic World, like
yes,
model, the design.
Yeah, they're the design from Jurassic World, which wouldn't be so much a problem if that wasn't so untrue to nature. And we could talk a little bit more about like, hey, why is that something that we care about and whatnot towards the end of this footage? But like, we could do the footage breakdown first, before we get into the nitty gritty. But I do want to say it's a beautiful shot. The way that it drinks the water, the way way it snorts, the water comes out of it. Everything about this shot is just freaking gorgeous. A fly lands on it. It's yeah, I don't know. It's this footage is really, really beautiful.
Yeah, and then we cut to Skull Island.
There's rocky cliffs with like all the trees and whatnot in the background, and the pteranodons are standing there.
Is that like a nest? What would you call this region? It's like the water through the like.
Well, this is like,
what is this?
This looks like the nesting grounds at like the kind of the seaside cliffs. In this case, it's riverside cliffs, I guess, for the pteranodons. But it's super cool because, for one thing, their colors seem to be a little different than Jurassic World, where they're like a little lighter. So there's like they're not as contrasty. Some have. It seems like they brought back the multicolor ones from Jurassic World, where they're like. In Jurassic World, how the pteranodons had like their red ones and blue ones and green ones. Like most were red, but they're
I remember it having red.
In Fallen Kingdom, they're all the same color, but they brought them back. So what's going on what's really interesting about this is, even though it's the Jurassic World design, it looks a lot better here. It looks a lot more naturalistic, and I honestly believe, I can't tell if the beak was curved a little bit more, but I honestly believe it also has a lot to do with their standing properly, like the way that their skin membranes and everything work. Like the wings are now in proper position. They're no longer like drooped out like downward. They no longer look sickly. So it's actually like, hey, these look really good now. And that actually just might be a change that will be reflected in the rest of the movie.
The composition is really nice. Everything, they seem way blended into the scene. They're not this big focus. The lighting is dynamic enough that most of the time they're cast in shadow.
Yeah, and it's just one of the things though. It's like
sell the effect.
They stand more correctly. They act more naturalistically. I almost want to say that the render is different. So like the bony plates on their face look more fleshy rather than like these big armored plates. So everything about it, there's a lot of like little subtle nuances that are slightly different here. That, while I do wish that they would have showcased like much more, hey, this would have been cool if they were covered in fibers, and maybe some would have long crests and some would have short crests. Again, it's a little weird seeing just like the film designs here, and it's supposed to be 65 million years ago. But something about them at the same time does look better than the Jurassic World pteranodons have ever looked. Like, I've never liked them, and then I do like them here in this sequence.
Yeah, I think it's just the way they're implemented, the way they're composited.
Well, there's some design nuance changes. Again, like the anatomy, the way that they hold their bodies are entirely different. They no longer have their wings drooping downward. They're like in the proper anatomical poses.
Yeah,
the colors. And I love the fact that one dives into the water.
It does. Yeah, so you have they're nests, right? They look like little nests that they've kind of built into the cliff face.
Yeah, and then they're actually
like across each other in the river,
hunting for food in the water as they would.
Okay, interesting. Joined by the Spinosaurus, no less. And then this is where it gets insanely inaccurate. And this is where I'm going to load up my Twitter account and get an @Steve what's his name? Brissetti. Yeah, I'm gonna get a tweet ready, hate-filled, rage-filled tweet ready for
Steve. Him. Why did you do it? Steve?
Why'd you do it, Steve? So this is where we see correct me if I'm wrong, and I probably am wrong, but the Diplodocus.
You're definitely wrong.
Oh. Which one is it?
I'm talking about the Oviraptor.
Oviraptor, that's it. What's the difference between that and a Diplodocus? What's a Diplodocus?
Like an Apatosaurus.
Okay, yeah, definitely not that then.
Or I'd like to believe. So this could be an Oviraptor. This could be, I don't know. At this point, so if we're supposed to assume that all these scenes play out in the same time period, it gets super confusing. But I can accept this as different parts of the world in different time periods because we don't see most of these animals interacting, and each of their environments seem unique enough. So yeah, this could be an Oviraptor. Originally, when the footage was described, I was like, it shouldn't be an Oviraptor. It should be an Anzu. But yeah, we'll call it an Oviraptor. But anyhow, it is mostly fully feathered, except for it doesn't have like fully feathered wings. But it's this really cool design.
So we've seen phenofibers so far. This is the first time we're seeing a feathered boy, right?
Yeah, feathers in action. Yeah, and you got these really cool, nice like floofy floofy feathers on the tail. It's got this like whitish gray body with these like sort of two black vertical stripes going down, or horizontal stripes going down its body.
Animated. I remember it animates like a chicken, man.
The way it animates is so cool because it feels proper dinosaur, yet it also feels like proper real. It's interesting to me because
it's fascinating.
It's creepy almost. I think that it's kind of, I don't know. Once again, it just shows you. I would love to see these things like interacting with like people and whatnot.
Yeah,
like it's believable.
It reminds me of the Mosasaurus and the way that acted in Camp Cretaceous.
Yeah.
You know, how it like bolts really quickly, almost lizard-like, and can freeze. Like a bird, like how when you watch a chicken, it can be completely still and frozen. That is, and then around.
Sort of weirdly twitchy, and then still, and this sort of like nuancy. It's a really, really cool looking thing.
Twitching,
and I love the
with style.
This is one of the reasons why I want this footage to be released in HD, because I'd love just to see what that design looks like and be able to like kind of pour over it in HD, because like the way that like what you're able to see in that scene looked so cool. Now there are some weird things with it, like they're using a very old school interpretation of Oviraptors. You know, when Oviraptors were found with eggs, they originally thought that they were stealing the eggs. They never thought that they would be like actually like the old opinions.
A dinosaur surrounded by eggs. It must be stealing them.
It must be stealing them. Yeah, because everyone thought dinosaurs weren't social animals. They saw them as these very like brutal, like basic, unintelligent creatures that wouldn't have like social structures and whatnot. It's like, okay, no, we know they were brooding on their nests. So this scene would have been a little bit better, in my opinion, if we would have had an Oviraptor sitting on a nest, or like come to sit on its nest or something, or maybe even poking at like a lizard around its nest.
Just clearing the area around the nest, making sure there's no shit.
So again, and also its hands are very direct. It's weird because they went out of their way to, and we could talk about this a little bit later, but they went out of the way to change the hands of the T-Rex to be scientifically accurate, even for the modern day T-Rex. So it's weird that this has like Jurassic Park bunny hands, instead of like proper like wings, if that makes sense.
Would it have had wings?
Yeah, well, like, at the very least, like the hands wouldn't be like curled inward and down. They'd be like sort of turned to the side and like splayed out.
Yeah,
so even if it weren't wings, it would just be in a completely different like pose. I'm fine without the wings. All the same, the way this thing moves.
I'm just taking notes, man. I'm just getting stuff ready for my Steve.
The way this thing moves, your Steve tweet.
Yeah.
The way this thing moves, though, is it makes it one of my favorite sequences. It's just so believable.
Yeah. It definitely feels like a chicken or some form of tasty bird.
It's not a turkey.
Chicken race, not a turkey. So the Diplodocus, or as some refer to it, the Oviraptor, it smashes its head, face, beak.
Yeah,
is it a beak?
I do like that. And to be fair, it's very possible these animals would eat eggs. It's just when you're only highlighting one moment and one scene, it's creating the interpretation. Like it's kind of sort of like putting the focus on that very old school thing. A lot of people still think of Oviraptors as egg thieves, which is why I'd rather it been sitting on a nest. You know what I mean? It sort of feels like, yeah, hey, this thing probably still has a nest somewhere, but it's just sort of weird to show it that way. All the same though, it's
brutal
not entirely...
though. It goes into the egg and eats some baby.
Yeah, it eats a little baby, and then we hear something growl.
It's cool to Hollywood. And then it growls, and the Oviraptor kind of freaks out a little bit, has a little jitter.
Yeah, it gets ready to bolt, and then we cut to the Nasutoceratops herd.
I mean, ILM have obviously animated feathers before for various other projects, right? But seriously, the addition of feathers in this sequence, if you're lucky enough to have seen the scene, God, it works. And I am incredibly anti-feather.
So that's what I was going to ask you.
feathers. I don't actually believe in them. They're not real.
Yeah, they're like, to you, birds are naked.
Birds are naked, yeah. And if I see one with feathers, then I must be dreaming. I don't know.
Part of the deep conspiracy. No, I guess that is a good question, though. Now that you've seen like feathers on a dinosaur in a Jurassic World film alongside like unfeathered animals, like, do you find that like, hey, these things can coexist and both can look cool on screen?
Yes, I think the Oviraptor was a seller on that. I think phenofiber introductions in various species so far has helped make it less like, oh, they're just lizard skin. I think the franchise can successfully do it and without any disruption by literally using the InGen dinosaurs used frog DNA, and it just kind of wiped the feather aspect from those dinosaurs. So they're different. So if another company 25 years plus on from that breeds dinosaurs, the technology is better, the science is better, maybe the resources that they can use are better, maybe they don't have to use a frog, it would make sense to introduce some new dinosaurs, and I think I can accept that. While I don't like I'll always love the Jurassic Park dinosaurs, you know, because of being a Jurassic fan over a dinosaur fan, etc. But yeah, these guys look cool.
I think what sells looks
cool.
I think what sells it is the animation.
Terrifying, yeah.
I think the animation reminds us, like, it's so believable, yet it's so odd. Looking at an animal, it's like, man, it moves just like a chicken and sort of like a lizard, but this thing's so weird. Like, it just reminds you that dinosaurs are really weird and really fascinating. Like, man, I would love to see like our characters walking through a jungle with those things sort of like bobbing around, and like there's just like a lot of cool sequences. But also another thing to remember, hey, plenty of dinosaurs weren't feathered for real. Like, a lot of real dinosaurs weren't feathered, so there's always good, like, it's not even inaccurate to have like dinosaurs that are more reptilian in terms of their skin structure. And I don't just mean like, you know, like quadrupeds. Like we could have, you know, things like Carnivorous was most likely would never have feathers. So yeah, I don't know. I guess
it's burned.
Poor Toro.
It was always getting burned and set alight. No, I think this scene, obviously the whole movie, you know, they might feather up a dinosaur that we know and love, and everybody might hate. You know, they might bring out a feathered.
If they retcon a design, I think that people would be pretty frustrated. But if they bring in a new species or a new design that can live alongside the old designs, I'm totally for it. And I think that it can be a lot of fun. I think what really is going to matter, though, is if they can continue to make it feel naturalistic, like this sequence, because there's no reason why naturalistic shouldn't work in modern day.
No. So I think, so I'm especially the way this intro scene has been shot, and obviously we'll get to it, but the stuff that comes after it, I'm totally down for feathers, because if they're going to shoot these dinosaurs properly and not blast them with light and not show them in the middle of a daylight sun scene, well, obviously some scenes that works, but you know what I mean? Actually implementing these dinosaurs right, like they've done in this scene, then feathers aren't going to bother me. They look cool here. This Oviraptor looks awesome, and the way the feathers on the tail reacts to its movements, and the way it jitters and shakes, and you see all the feathers animating. Dude, give us dinosaurs we've not seen before. Give us new dinosaurs with feathers. Freak the audience out. Freak the people in the scene out. I'm down.
Yeah,
I think it could be really cool.
Keep that awe. Bring back the awe in the modern day as well. Like that, you know, dinosaurs should be awe-inspiring when they're not dangerous. You know what I mean? Like, it's the same thing of like going to like seeing herds of animals and like, you know, anywhere in the world. When they're not dangerous, they're awe-inspiring. But then if you're caught in the middle of a stampede, it's suddenly scary. If you see bears in the distance, they're awe-inspiring. But if a bear is attacking you, it's scary. The problem is it seems like these films have forgotten that these animals, like, they want you to want to save the dinosaurs. Fallen Kingdom shows us that. We're supposed to, you know, care about the dinosaurs. But the problem is up until now, I feel like the Jurassic World films have not done a great job of reminding us that they're animals and actually just making these things feel magical and awe-inspiring to the viewer.
Yeah. And so not just like the odd moment, you know, the apatosaur dying and like having one.
Yeah, but again, those are
not just one moment. It's got to be throughout. It's got to be consistent.
Yeah, keep us awed by these
when
things.
They're at threats, you know, it's not just the T-Rex.
It should be magnificent.
And kills Mills because it's like, but why? You know, like, it doesn't make sense. So yeah, I feel like they've learned a lot as well on this.
The way that these animals move, the way that they're put in the frame, everything like that is just wonderful. And I think like the next scene with the Mosasaurus is a perfect example of this. That might be one of my little favorite scenes
So do you hear the roar, right? And the Oviraptor like freaks out, but then it cuts to the Triceratops. No, it's the it's the Nasuta, right?
Yeah, the Nasutoceratops, which was introduced in Battle of Big Rock.
It's a herd of them. Is it the same
huge
design
herd
as in BABR?
As far as I know,
BABR. Let's call it that from now on.
As far as I know, it is. It looks like there's both the females and the males from Battle of Big Rock. They seem to have like the grayish skin with some of like the subtle orange markings. What's cool is like one of them looks like it has a broken horn in the footage, which is really interesting. It's like one of the males seems to have a broken horn.
Oh wow! Yeah, I didn't notice that when I saw it.
And then there's like, they're playing in the water and everything like that. And I think the shot's just beautiful. This huge herd kicking up dust as they migrate, and just going off into this beautiful, beautiful distance.
I think that's one thing. Yeah, Colin has he really has shot this like Planet Earth. The cameras just loom and let it play out. They just kind of pan slowly.
It's not even just that the environments are looking better than ever. Like they look like places I want to adventure. Like I want to go there. I want to explore that. I want to spend a movie being chased by dinosaurs there or something like that because it's gorgeous. I hope the movie. I hope this is indicative of what the rest of the movie will look like, because I hope this isn't like one of those things where like the first 5 minutes of Fallen Kingdom were so fantastic and then everything after that was sort of like downhill. And then,
dude, if they make that same mistake, because if that's the case, they should not have released this scene if this is going to be the opening too. Because Fallen Kingdom starts so strong. You remember when we came out of that cinema?
We're like, oh, that movie is going to be
we were like, oh my god,
fantastic. Obviously things are going to be different during modern day. There's going to be so many differences, but nonetheless, I just hope that the motivation behind the scenes, the way they film things, I hope that this is indicative of a new direction where, like we remember that dinosaurs are animals, and this, just like the way that this Nasuto is rolling around in the water and everything like that. It's just, everything about that scene is just gorgeous. It's something that I would love to have in HD, and I'd love to have like framed on my wall even. It's beautiful.
Yeah, they've created something special with this scene, and naturally, there's a reason why it's come out. Promote the movie, get people back in cinemas, and it's a good idea. So after that scene, if I remember correctly, we cut to the basically the screenshot that was shared.
Yeah, the Morris Intrepidus.
Yeah, which is would you call it a breed of T-Rex, or would you say
it's related to It's a Tyrannosaurid, so it is not a breed of T-Rex, but it's a Tyrannosaurid. It should be about deer size, so this might be a juvenile Morris Intrepidus.
Yeah, okay, and it's you can see the famous Kotra trees in the background there. Not monkey puzzle. They're like whatever those trees
dragon
are.
Blood or whatever.
Very weird looking trees, and it is poking.
It's like eating the filth from inside the Giganotosaurus's teeth.
We've all been there, man. But it's just kind of going at this big open jaw, which you don't know if it's dead or not, right? Because it's just lying on the ground.
Yeah, it's just sort of like what's. Yeah, and then you see, then like you kind of hear. I think you hear it growl or whatnot, and the Morris runs away, and then the animal
is also a feathered. It's not phenofibers, right? That's
feathers. No, that is feathers. Yeah, that is feathers.
Yeah. So that was another one, but a lot less feathers than the Oviraptor.
Yeah, the types of feathers are very different. These are like those more hair-like downy feathers, rather than like the more flight type of feathers.
So if I remember correctly, the giant jaws begin to raise up. They look a little Godzilla-y here.
There's definitely a little
come up. So it's obviously been lying down, and then you see. Is that Camp Cretaceous?
No, it's not. No, it's not an Tyrannosaurus. This is an iguanodon. It's randomly. There's apparently an iguanodon which is just grazing right next to a Giganotosaurus, and then the Giganotosaurus stands up, and the iguanodon is suddenly like, "Huh?" Which is weird to me.
Where have you come from?
It's so, the iguanodon in this sequence is so randomly placed that like it actually distracts from the sequence.
It's a tad out of place, isn't it?
It's very out of place.
No, it's just a shadow.
Everything
shadow rising on the ground.
or like smaller, anything maybe small, like more Morris intrepidus, or like more like bird-like dinosaurs that scatter. Something not like a big prey like a big iguanodons are big animals, and I don't know. This is just it's a really weird choice. It's like they just decided they wanted an iguanodon, didn't know where to put it, and they did it in such an awkward way that it distracts from the scene. It's like all the footage to me felt very natural and perfect, and then this whole sequence feels a little clumsy.
Yeah, so we have the first real view of the Giganotsaurus, which we knew about since Sam Neill spoiled the introduction of that dinosaur. Don't know if that was supposed to be a surprise for Dominion, but it is the new big bad, big boy, big Giganotsaurus dinosaur, big non-hybrid. But
so what's unfortunate is if Sam Neill didn't spoil Giganotsaurus and they didn't tell us this was a Giganotsaurus, nobody would know this was a Giganotsaurus for multiple reasons. So the design doesn't look like a Giganotsaurus. It just doesn't look natural. So like everything looks so natural in this footage, and then there's just this monster out of nowhere.
What the fuck, Steve?
Yeah, damn it, Steve. God, why'd you do it, Steve?
We encourage everybody listening to tweet at Steve the hatred for him and the hatred for this scene. But seriously, no, the Giganotsaurus, don't do that. The Giganotsaurus, you already did. Just stop. No, the Giganotsaurus from memory just reminded me of Godzilla.
It's very Godzilla-esque.
Godzilla, which is actually, I think, a call out we had when it came out on the packaging.
When we saw that that skull thing on packaging, we were like, this looks very Zilla-esque.
Zilla 98.
So it's a shame because all these designs and everything about the sequence is so beautiful, and then it sort of falls apart during this moment. And if you ask me, so then the T-Rex
armored so much. I remember wondering why it has like armor all over its back.
It's because they wanted to distinguish it from the T-Rex, and they did it in the most generic, in the most generic way possible. And the other issue is like almost all the new big carnivorous dinosaurs in the Jurassic World films are like crocodilian inspired. You know, you have the Baryonyx, very crocodilian. You have the Indominus Rex, very crocodilian. You have the Allosaurus in Battle of Big Rock, once again, very crocodilian. It's like, my God, show us something new. The Giganotsaurus, for me, is definitely a really big disappointment. I'm not a fan of the design.
Fair enough. I think it's definitely where this franchise...
It looks like it just doesn't look like it's out of a Jurassic Park film.
It feels placed in this sequence after the sort of run-up that you've had. Even with the Jurassic World designs on the first couple of dinosaurs, they felt in place. You even said the Pteranodons just feel right now. Same design, minor changes, but feels right. But yeah, this one stands out, and not in the best way, but
no, even
I don't know dinosaurs so well, so I kind of look at it. The only thing I'm looking at is like the armor just seems way too. There's too much like of this armory stuff on the top that it makes it look like a monster from a kaiju movie.
Yeah, it's just and it's generic looking. I don't know, like the Jurassic Park dinosaurs.
I texted you as well after I saw the scene and was like, but why do they fight? So the Giga, it raises up, and then the other dinosaur that was there, the Iguanodon,
just sort of scampers off because there's a T-Rex coming up directly behind it. So not only was this Iguanodon remarkably close to a Giganotsaurus, it was also right in between a T-Rex as well. The Iguanodon is so out of place in this sequence.
I just remember messaging you or the Outpost group or something and just saying, but why do they fight? There's no build up whatsoever. They just start fighting. And maybe I'm not Steve. I'm not a paleontologist. Maybe they did do this, but come on.
Well, they did not do this because
they just fight for fun.
No, they didn't fight for fun.
Everything was the Giga like taking a nap in the T-Rex territory, and the Iguanodon was too.
Maybe I have no idea. I mean, okay, so we need to talk a little bit about T-Rex and Gigantosaurus and what time periods they're from and whatnot. They are separated by 30 million years and on two different continents. They would have never met. It would have been impossible to meet. If you keep in mind, there's 65 million years between us and time of the dinosaurs, there was 30 million years between these species. That puts it in perspective of how much time there was between them. It's almost, it's about half the amount of time as it was between us and dinosaurs. I mean, mankind evolved from primates in that amount of time. So it's like one of those things. It's like, it's so silly slapping them together, and especially the films have told us up to this point, hey, the fossil record's real. I mean, Colin went on record to say that he got rid of the Mosasaurus and did the Indominus Rex as a hybrid because he didn't want to fuck with the fossil record, and then this comes out and it's completely fucking with the fossil record. I don't know. And the whole reasoning is that he's like, hey, I wanted to set up a grudge match, but we've never had to have a reason for the T-Rex to fight things in these films. So I don't really understand what all this does is convolute things. It's not, this part isn't very well shot, and it just convolutes things. Like, this part is sort of where a little bit of this footage just sort of loses its like the novelty factor of this being real and a real like depiction of like, hey, this is what dinosaurs are really like, falls apart right here. So it's sort of like, well, what was the purpose of this footage? Like, what is it achieving? What isn't it achieving? I don't know. This whole, if the footage hits the film, I'd love if they can maybe do it and maybe redo the part with the Giganotsaurus and T-Rex and change it into something different during this whole segment, because this part's pretty weak.
Yeah, so, I mean, one thing about the scene as a whole that I really do like is the fact that there's always pteranodons or something flying in the sky. It just gives it this real atmosphere, this world. But this is weird. The T-Rex looks cool. The T-Rex has some feathering or phenofibers, right? It has feathers, fluff all over it. It, to me, looks like the Jurassic World T-Rex, but is it, at least in this sequence, like with the smaller, it looks like it has a smaller head.
It's something seems to be a little different with it, but it looks very. The thing I would have liked to see them do is I would have liked to see them put lips on it, just so like it looked a little more different than its Jurassic iteration. You know what I mean? Like
big bright red lips.
Yes, lips. Yeah.
Kiss the giga. Calm
down.
But
something I think that would have been like help it look like even a little bit more different. But anyhow, so then they fight.
Yeah, so I'm not a dinosaur guy. My point in regards to the 30 million years and the difference, and okay, so this has been a really big argument, and I think people are really losing sense with it and not really understanding the issue as a whole. It's not an issue. It's like people are defending it, saying it doesn't matter by saying, yeah, well, the Jurassic Park movies have always been inaccurate. It's like, yeah. But they can kind of get away with it, right? Because they're that's the Jurassic Park, Jurassic World movies. That's a world, it's our world, but we're on a tangent where they brought back dinosaurs in the 90s, and genetic engineering is far further ahead than what they show us it is now.
Yeah, so, they're reconstructed iterations.
If they make scientific inaccuracies like the Spinosaurus, as we know now, is a drastically looking different creature and didn't do half the things that it did, it's still okay because we don't know how they built the Spino, right? So you've got the kind of like loophole of like, well, InGen could have done something weird with it, and it's a Spino but not a real Spino.
Well, keep in mind, I mean, the movies have gone out of their way to tell us that the real dinosaurs are different than the film dinosaurs multiple times.
Right,
multiple times. They've made a very big emphasis to saying like, hey, the real dinosaurs will look very different. That's something that Wu illustrates very strongly and emphasizes very much in the first Jurassic World.
Now without the corresponding traits of everybody knows that. Silly line is.
Yeah, he says something. He said, in fact, some of these animals would look very different if you wanted the real thing, but you didn't want the real thing. You wanted more teeth. So the movies have gone out of their way many times.
Best bits.
The movies have gone out of their ways many times to say, hey, no, dinosaurs in the real times were different, and these are the reconstructions. So the problem is they came back and decided to show us that time period, but then they didn't. They played fast and loose with the roles, and so if you're going to show the time period of the age of the dinosaurs, the novelty, it would just be so much more fascinating if you actually showed us the time period of the dinosaurs, because they're basically just doing what they do during the modern day. So it's sort of like, why does it exist even? Do you know what I mean? Like, what does it achieve? It just convolutes the entire goal and the entire vision of the footage. It just lacks sort of.
If they go back 65 million years to show us the actual time period of the dinosaurs, which in itself is an awesome idea for a Jurassic movie. I think, why haven't we gone back that far yet? Because that's the origins of everything, right? If they're going to go back and show us that time period, goddamn, it should be accurate. It should at least be.
It should be as accurate as they like, as accurate as like that makes sense. At least, you know what I mean. Like I'm not saying
like the or like making things like the Oviraptor steal an egg. Like you said yourself, it could have done that very much so. So maybe it was just a bad choice of choosing to only show it doing that. But the dinosaurs that never existed together and on different continents,
the anachronisms of
having a big fight, and the intention for it because they want to stop a grudge match in the modern movie. It doesn't need to. Just
exactly. This sequence just doesn't work. It just feels like the kind of cartoony silliness.
T-Rex is getting so overused too. You could have just shown the Giga fighting another giant dinosaur to establish that the Giga is a scary dinosaur.
Yeah,
it's gonna kill things, and everybody who's watching this franchise knows the T-Rex is the king. So
there's a few things they could have done this to introduce the Giganotsaurus, and they could have really done something just to show it. Like, man, this was a scary dinosaur. Oh, what is this? This is new. We've never seen one of these, and the music's just like dun dun dun. Or they could have shown us the T-Rex in its day and age doing its thing and then getting bit by the mosquito. That's the problem. Is this footage tries to suddenly do like 20 different things. Like, I don't really know what its goal was. Was it an origin story for the T-Rex? Is it setting up a grudge match for the Gigantosaurus and T-Rex, which is silly? That's like some kaiju, like genetic memory. Like, again, that's just like, come on, guys. Like, let's not go that route. Or was it supposed to be a real look into the history of dinosaurs and be something like a refreshing look? Because it's not. It's like sort of. It's losing. It's like kind of doing a jack of all trades, master of none thing. It's sort of losing this whole sequence of the fight. Just, I don't like this fight. The Gigantosaurus design just isn't good. The arms are like these long little goblet arms. They look so weird.
The T-Rex looks good, but
the T-Rex looks good.
The fight is kind of like the.
I just don't know what the point is. There's
fight.
Like, why do we have the mosquito land on the It does too many things. It should have stuck with one thing. It just sort of lacks direction here. It's like it's trying to do too many things at once, and it's not committing. It's not committing to any. It's just not committing to any one thing.
This beautiful scene and all these different species, and just showing you the world without interfering with it. And then they're like, "And we need a big dino fight, big dino fight."
It's just trying to do too much. Also, it's not really playing by its own rules. It's sort of losing some of the magic of the scene of it being like, oh, it's a real look at the age of the dinosaurs. Falls apart if you know anything about dinosaurs. And I get it. Not everybody does, but plenty of people do. And again, that's sort of the novelty. Whether or not you knew about it or you didn't know about it, people are now telling you about it. So yeah, it's no longer, now hey, this isn't realistic to the age of the dinosaurs. So again, I think it comes down to the fact of being like, if you're going to show it, do it right, at least as close to right. This is a really big, and we just don't need to set up a grudge match between two titanic dinosaurs. Dinosaurs have fought constantly. Fans are always like, oh, there's a new big bad. I wonder what would happen if it fights the T-Rex. I mean, that the movies sell that point on its own.
It didn't need to show us that in the intro, especially or in this scene, especially if it is something that's going to happen later in the movie. You kind of like, just save it. Build hype for that fight. Don't fight early on. So the T-Rex comes down, it lands, you see its eye, it's dead, and then, this is when the mosquito lands on the T-Rex, right?
Yeah.
So mosquito lands on the T-Rex, which is the poster. It begins drawing the blood through the skin.
As I do.
And you're kind of left wondering, wait, is this the original mosquito that started the whole thing? Is this the mosquito we see in Jurassic Park, the one they extracted T-Rex DNA from? And it's nice to think, I don't think it's confirmed, but they've definitely hinted at it. Colin's talked about it in a couple of interviews. It's like, are we seeing the
I think Colin said Colin said this is the T-Rex's mosquito.
Oh, he confirmed it. Okay, yes. This T-Rex right here is, T-Rex 0, right? This is the original T-Rex that makes the Jurassic Park Roberta Rexy.
Yeah. I don't know. It's so convoluted though. It would have been really cool just to see a T-Rex living in its world and not fighting a Giganotsaurus.
Sexy Rexy.
And getting bit by a mosquito. I don't know. This footage, this end bit, I don't really understand what its direction was and what its point was.
No, I loved it though. So the mosquito bites, draws some blood, flies away, and the Giga just like walks off. That was another thing. Why didn't the Giga like eat its prey? Or do anything? Just and that's when we hit modern day. So that, I mean, as a 65 million years ago scene, again, if you don't know anything about
beautifully
dinosaurs,
shot. I just think that the whole T-Rex Giganotosaurus sequence was a little clumsy, just like from things like putting the iguanodon in it, the fact these animals are together, the Giganotosaurus design being
first place.
Giganotosaurus, that whole sequence feels a little weird. It does not feel as tight as everything else.
A little bit too, everything that comes before it is so clean and planet earthy, but it's great to see. And then we cut to modern day, and this is a cool scene. If I remember correctly, you see a helicopter with a searchlight flying towards what looks like a city. You can see a city in the distance, and it's chasing. Doesn't it say
65 million years later?
Yeah, funnily enough, in a new font, which that new font is something that they used in the marketing as well. They've used.
Oh, is that the Bodega Sans Black with an inline?
Yeah, so they've got a new font that they've actually. It looks like they've added, from our research, they've added the inline. So they've added the line through it. The font doesn't come like that. So they've either made a custom font, or each time they use it, they add the lines in. But it isn't the font, the Jurassic World font, and it isn't the Jurassic Park font. It is a brand new font, which kind of looks like a cross of the two, and it's nice from memory because it's in they use it in other places. They use it in Evolution.
Right? Yes. It seems to be the new font.
So the helicopter's flying through, and you realize the helicopter is chasing a modern-day Tyrannosaurus Rex, who you learn is Sexy Rexy. It's the original Rex, right?
And what's interesting is the helicopter has a U.S. Fish and Wildlife badge on it.
Yes, which is what we speculated we talked about when we were talking about Evolution 2, right?
Yeah. That's the same logo that's on the vehicles in Evolution 2.
They're hunting, they're trying to track down this T-Rex, which is making its way through a dense forest, which is in the Pacific Northwest, it appears. They shot this stuff in Canada. This was some of the first stuff they filmed, I believe.
Well, maybe...
Okay.
No, they might have filmed some of it, but the drive-in was shot in the UK.
Oh, that's right. The drive-in was in the UK, but I think it
could have been like some of the aerial shots and whatnot were filmed in Canada.
Yeah,
like,
I just think the aerial and maybe the jungle stuff with the Rex, but
the forestry and whatnot might have been there. But the actual drive-in itself, which they where the T-Rex bust in, that was shot in the UK. Very close to where they filmed the Lockwood Manor.
Yeah, you see helicopter, you see the T-Rex running through through the forest, and then you cut and you get that. This has been gift already. People have gifted this up on Twitter. It's like an ad. Go to the So that plays, and you realize you're at a drive-in. You see some cars. You see people parked up. You see
some people in like the back of a truck eating stuff. It looks like
El Camino.
Yeah, it looks like one of those movie theater commercials where like it's like get a cool refreshment at the blah blah blah. Like the way that it's filmed there is really. There's a few cutaways in this that are a little awkward.
Yeah, but overall, I really love this.
It's beautiful.
So you go from that, you see the cars, and then if I recall correctly, you see the kid, right?
Yeah, the kid, Colin's kid.
This is Colin's kid. And the view, so he whips his head towards the camera, and the shadow covers him, right?
I think.
The reaction is so good, the way the kid just stares up, and he takes this, like, gasp. I think it's a great reaction. And then you see the king, or queen. She is the queen. This is Sexy Rexy, who, here at the InGeneral Podcast, we totally stan.
God.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so the T-Rex she's attacking. Well, that's just that she's been chased into basically a populated area, and now she's sort of like just reacting to everything, and everyone's reacting to her, and it's a pretty cool freaking scene.
In terms of she walks through, she kind of rocks some cars. People are running, screaming. Some people have made it under their cars to be like, because she won't get us under here. Everybody knows that. we've seen Jurassic World, right? Owen saved it by going under a car from the Indo wreck.
It's kind of funny that people went under the car rather than inside the car, but yeah.
Yeah, and then you get people in the back of the El Camino with the T-Rex behind them. Oh, there's that weird kissing scene.
The kissing scene is so weird, and it's mainly because I feel like those might have been two different extras who never met one another before they had to do the kissing scene, because it is the most unnatural looking kissing I've ever seen in my life. It is so like, how did that make the final cut type of like
Yeah, I remember laughing at that. And then the T-Rex, they're too busy sucking each other's faces off that they don't see the T-Rex directly ahead of them. The T-Rex does this awesome roar with the
Is that when it's backlit?
Yeah, the projection light is like hitting it. It's just so cool. You see the T-Rex up close. There's a lot of play with shadows and reflections in this scene. Which
let's talk about the fact that this is the new T-Rex design.
Yes. So it does some more shit, it rolls over, and then you see this awesome shot of the T-Rex wide roaring, doing its Jurassic Park breakout pose. You gotta admit, it's cool to see that again. It's like the breakout pose.
Oh, also someone gets hit by a car, which is really fun.
Love that, yeah, excellent. Yeah. You see people taking pictures, if I remember correctly, somebody's got their cell phone up. But yeah, the T-Rex roars, and I mean, she's changed.
Yeah, she's thicker. Her skin is like the colors and whatnot are actually like much more true to Jurassic Park. So the eyeshadow is very, very dark and very contrasty. Like there's the contrast on the face. There's the darkness on the top of her with some light, some like kind of hints of light striping. Her underbelly is light and muted rather than just kind of being uniform, like yellowish brown. There's actually a lot of complexity to the color. Her arms are in entirely new positions, different than Jurassic World or Jurassic Park. They're scientifically accurate now, which is really interesting, but it looks great and it doesn't even look unnatural. Like it doesn't even feel different, if that makes sense. Like it just looks entirely right.
She looks like the Chronicle Collectibles breakout T-Rex.
Yeah, that pose right there is very similar.
No, but she does look really good, and she's a lot darker. Like you said, the eyeshadow, she looks aged. She looks more like a T-Rex that's been through it a little bit.
Yeah, but it's not entirely the Jurassic Park. Yeah. The throat is like kind of big and thick. It's not entirely the Jurassic Park design either. She has the Jurassic World teeth. Some of the roundness of the snout and the lower jaw is still very true to Jurassic World. So it's still very naturally a Jurassic World T-Rex. It just somehow feels a lot more consistent with Jurassic Park. I believe that the eye crest is slightly different, a lot more like Jurassic Park. There's like a few subtle changes, like a lot of the tiny little subtleties that were like kind of like structural anomalies that just weren't correct and true to Jurassic Park seem to have been tweaked. And she's chunkier again, which is pretty easy to understand. Like a T-Rex can gain and lose weight, so that's not really like a retcon. But there are some changes to the design, but that's, most of them are fixing the old changes, and then some are new.
Overall very positive, and it just looks good in this scene. It's great implementation.
He looks the best he's looked ever, honestly.
The scene is shot really well as well. I feel. It just is implemented well. The lighting's really nice.
And then you have the T-Rex. There's a cool aerial shot then with the T-Rex where they're looking at it from the helicopter and trying to shoot with the trank gun. And that's another great shot where you can really see that she looks so true to Jurassic Park. And then they miss the T-Rex and they smack they end up smacking some people in a car.
Which is funny because that shot of it in the glass is something, it's almost one of the first things Colin uploaded.
Yeah, they shot this before the pandemic happened, which is really interesting. Yeah. So
I remember that shot of the trank dart kind of thing that they're trying to.
Oh man, the T-Rex is just T-Rex looks so good.
Yeah, I remember it looking really nice. I remember them firing on it because you see the T-Rex, you see it in a couple of like focus shots. It's just a shot of the T-Rex, roaring or whatever. But most of the time, you see it through something or above something or around something or through the helicopter. And I think it's so good.
Yeah. The camera doesn't feel like a flying camera with all the camera movements always feel real. There always seems to be a point of view that's understandable to the audience, and it really adds to a sense of scale and believability to the sequence. The way that it's filmed honestly, the cinematography here is way better than Fallen Kingdoms.
Oh yeah, 100%. And it's funny how they went from Oscar Fora and Fallen Kingdom back to John Schwartzman, who shot the first one, and I was so disappointed that was happening. I wanted the guy who shot Battle of BABR. I wanted him back. But yeah, John Schwartzman's
it looks like John Schwartzman knew. He knew. I think him and Colin shared a vision. And yeah, they are executing on it. If this footage is anything to go by, and this footage is shot very differently than the opening stuff, which was very Planet Earthy. But between these two moments, I get the feeling that this is going to be the best looking Jurassic film, to be honest with you. And at least in terms of it might not be Spielbergian in terms of some of its very decisive camera movements, but I get the feeling this movie is going to be gorgeous. It seems to have learned. It seems to have learned from the classic Jurassic films. It seems to have learned a little bit from what Bayona brought on screen, and then it takes it to a different place. And I love it.
It's its own thing. It seems to be standing up. And if Colin said a while ago this is the movie he really intended to make from the get-go, then so far everything we're seeing, I'm down for that. I'm down for seeing what Colin intended to make. So we see title cards next summer. We see, and then this was all detailed in the footage. You see what appears to be iPhone footage from inside a car at night. The
Gallimimus,
and you see some Gallimimus just run.
Do they sort run? They seem to be and then run. They seem to maybe be in a road or something like that. I don't know, but yeah, there's a few of them. There seems to be oncoming headlights, and they just. It's the way deer get in the middle of the road and then panic and run. Or maybe it's tied to the T-Rex. I don't know.
So next summer, Rule, you see a different angle of the Battle at Big Rock scene.
Yeah, it looks like it's shot from inside one of the other campers again, through the point of view or maybe someone else's camera footage. But yeah, it seems to be shot.
The tipping over of the camper from the Allosaurus.
Yeah.
And then it says, next summer, rule the earth.
Which is a weird tagline. Not dinosaurs rule the earth. Next summer, rule the earth. Okay.
Just rule it.
I'll rule the earth next summer.
Hey, Queen, you rule the earth.
Yeah, it sounds like it's the tagline for Loki or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then you
glorious purpose.
Everybody's favorite dinosaur that isn't a dinosaur. It's a marine reptile, Chris, I'll have you know. It is the Mosasaurus. The one that has been in the oceans for 6 years now, maybe more.
It's been in the oceans for some time, but it also seems to be less kaiju size now. It seems to look better than ever, and it's eating some crabs off of a fishing boat. And that's a really cool scene. And again, beautifully shot.
Launches out of the water, grabs the crabs off the boat, if I remember, crunches it, and then the scene ends, and you get. So we get the Dominion logo, which doesn't have any text. It's the Dominion logo that was dropped on the first poster, but it's illuminating from behind, and it's got a bit of an animation to it. It's very nice. Experience it in IMAX June 2022. And that's it.
Yes.
That is the scene. And so you get the majority prehistoric, and then you get a little bit of modern day tease of what this movie's going to show.
Yeah, both look very different, but both are gorgeous. The way the T-Rex moves, her movements and animations seem to be very naturalistic, much like the opening footage. There seems to be logic behind the things that she's doing. She's reacting to her environment. She isn't making just a beeline and attacking people. She's sort of she's acting like an animal. So I have a lot of faith about this. As much as I was going in about how much I don't like that T-Rex versus Giganotsaurus scene for scientific reasons, on top of just the filmmaking itself seems to be a little it seems to lack direction. It doesn't know what it wants to do with that scene. It just seems to be very awkward. But then you get this T-Rex scene in a crazy action sequence, and it does not lack direction. It knows exactly what it wants to do. It's so confident, and it's so well shot. I think Colin's going to surprise us.
It doesn't want to be there. It got chased into there. It dealt with the situation, rolled over a few cars, and jimmied the fuck out. And then it cuts, and it's great. But she left. It's executed so well. It's shot really nicely. That scene is put together so well, except that kiss is really awkward.
That's there's a few sort of cheesy.
Needs to stop with the kissing. He needs to stop with the kissing scenes, because at no point do they ever work.
I know that this one was meant to be funny, but it was also, I don't necessarily think we needed
each other's faces off and not.
But do we really need funny in an opening sequence of these movies? Jurassic Park had its moments of levity, but not like that. And I get it. It's a different time, and hey, it's not just a different time. Colin's a different person. He's putting his style on film, so whatever.
Sure.
I'm not trying to complain about it too much, but it is for me. It's I could have done without that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Just because it comes off as awkward, you're like, wow, okay. But yeah, no, great scene overall. I enjoyed it. I thought, as you know, paying to see an IMAX movie and paying to see Fast 9, something I never would have paid to see. Probably, I mean, worth it.
I'm glad to be back. Well, I was glad to be back in theaters. The last movie I saw before everything went down was freaking Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic the Hedgehog to Fast 9, neither one was like a great theatrical experience, but I'm just glad to be back in theaters. I want to go see Quiet Place 2.
Dude, it's so good. It's so good, but it's not like not as good as the first.
Fair. I think I'll still be happy.
But that's the kind of movie you want to go to the cinema for sure. Yeah. So yeah, it was great to be back in cinemas, and IMAX is a whole other experience. If you've been lucky enough to ever go to one,
my problem is I don't really have a real IMAX in Pittsburgh. You have to kind of go far to get to a real one, so I didn't even see it in like a real proper IMAX.
What was it like?
No, I mean it's an IMAX. It's just the screen. I've got screens that aren't IMAXs that are in more modern theaters that are larger than our IMAX.
Yeah, that's true. The one I went to wasn't huge. It did wrap around you a bit, but I've been to the IMAX, the BFI, in London, and that's like absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, for people, if you know Pittsburgh, the AMC waterfront, the Lowe's waterfront, that IMAX screen, it's old projectors, old lights. The screen isn't very big. Like, I'd much rather go to like the Cinemark XDs, which are like actual really beautiful screens, big, great sound systems, great lighting. Anyhow. Yeah, it's neither here nor there, but yeah, IMAX sort of loses its novelty when it's not upkept.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, at the end, and you're paying. The thing is, you're paying for it too. There's a big price difference. But I would encourage you, if you're debating whether to go see this scene or not, hoping it's going to come online or something like that. If you can spare the cash, I would genuinely just
get some friends to go.
F9. You can at the end of the day, you can go. You try your luck, man. Just go there and try and sneak in. You probably can't because of COVID, but you can try and sneak in. If you can't sneak in, pay for your tickets, go in, go see F9, or go see the Dominion preview, come out.
At this point, I don't think the footage is going to come online. I think that they might put more than just like the 5 seconds that's online or whatever. They might like do another like stay tuned for later this year for more from Jurassic World Dominion. Like we might get a few more moments in HD, which I hope we do because I want some shots of that T-Rex. There's a few shots I'd love just to have in HD. They might cut a teaser, like a 30-second teaser out of all this footage.
Well, I think the next step is
a real teaser, like a real teaser / trailer.
Teaser, yeah, it's a trailer teaser kind of thing. I don't think this scene now, because the campaign for this scene, IMAX may have paid to have this.
Yeah,
they're tied into it. It's not going to happen. It would have been online by now, I think. It could be wrong, but I think
it's very possible they haven't.
Just to go see it, because
and
if
plus,
you're a Jurassic fan, this is gonna make you feel good for a bit.
Plus, on top of that, again, for what it's worth, this might be the only way you can see it in theaters because some of that footage might not be in the final film, specifically the Cretaceous period era stuff. So.
And it is important right now, if you feel comfortable, to go to a cinema and
support
help
theaters because
movies.
Which brings us back to the fact.
Which
brings us back to the fact that this should not have been tied to IMAX. It should have been all theaters. It should have been a proper. It should have been a proper theatrical boost. But
I bet IMAX probably gave them a fucking chunk of cash, though.
Yeah, but still, like in the long run, does that matter? If you want theaters to come back strong, I don't know.
Yeah. But then it matters to uni, right?
I guess. It matters in their short term. They made some money in the short term, but their long game, if they want theaters to be successful so their movies keep making money.
Exactly, yeah.
You'd want to do, hey, you might not get as much money up front, but it might play the better long game.
We talked about this. We talked about, this might be one of many teasers with many Universal's upcoming tentpoles, and maybe this is just the one that's IMAX. Maybe the next won't be.
Perhaps. It seems unlikely at this point, considering we know most of this footage was designed. This footage was designed for the movie and not as standalone. Because one of the things that we talked about is, what if it's something that they created like Battle of Big Rock, but shorter, like that they filmed during the making of Dominion, like maybe they filmed some other short films. And it's possible. We know that they have the sets. We know they have the animatronics. So we might get some Big Rock like one, or I'd love if there were Big Rock like one-offs for like theatrical advertising that sort of work as standalones.
Almost just advertising the franchise and the world that the next movie is going to be in, like Battle of Big Rock does. I think
Yeah, if they put about a 4-minute
encounters and
if they put a 4-minute short in front of like all the big tent poles that Universal has, which is like 4 between now and Dominion, that'd be kind of fun, like every so many months, like there's like a small new short before a film. But that would have had to been planned ages in advance. I'm betting that didn't happen because with COVID also just filming was more difficult. So it's the likelihood is small.
Wouldn't it be cool if they got the Battle at Big Rock short film back in cinemas? Everybody's seen that. Everybody's seen it on YouTube. But if you're just going to see any generic Universal movie and all of a sudden Battle at Big Rock plays ahead of it.
It would be cool, but it's almost too long.
How long is it? About 8 minutes?
About 8 minutes. I feel like that's a little too long for a surprise short. You know what I mean?
We did talk about this, actually. I tweeted about this. I
feel like 4 minutes is like the golden...
My fan film from way back in the day when I was a kid, Prime Survival, up until I think February of this year, it might have been earlier than that,
had more views than
still in the lead. Yeah, it was had more views than Battle at Big Rock, but now Colin has taken over. So
I feel bad because Battle at Big Rock, like, yeah, sure, that's a decent amount of views it's gotten. That was a decent amount of views yours had, but Battle at Big Rock should have had way more views.
Yeah, it's weird.
It wasn't really supported.
A long time to get to that point, and that point alone is...
They kind of released it and then forgot about it, and like they never really... There wasn't much fanfare.
That's why it should come back in cinemas, because people...
Yeah, but it's just so... It's too long.
I go see it in cinemas.
Battle of Big Rock, I don't know. I almost feel like they should have tied it to like Netflix having it or something along those lines, and maybe it was such a good idea, but it's like it was half baked on how they were going to support it and what was the purpose of it. Was it Dominion marketing? I don't know, because it didn't really. It seems like it was only the super fans and like I don't you know what I mean? Like Battle of Big Rock, it's like they had an idea and then they never figured out exactly how to like make it hit wide audiences or support the films the way it could have.
Yeah, but the toys were in stores months before it released anyway.
Yeah,
so because like, the toys from Battle of Big Rock, and everyone's like, "What the fuck is that?"
Yeah, they hadn't announced Battle of Big Rock. There was,
Cretaceous, right? The toys from Camp Cretaceous on Netflix. Everyone's like, "What the fuck is that?"
At least with that, in that case, they'd announced the show.
True, they had it.
It's like
the Big Rock one was smaller.
The Big Rock one, they were trying to pretend like it didn't exist. They're like, oh nope, and like they even put out press releases like we kept this thing an entire secret. And I'm like, nah. Mattel gave it away. Gave it away at Toy Fair in February. The toys hit shelves around May, and it's now like September. Like I understand that the goal was to make it a secret, but it wasn't a secret, so don't pretend like it was a secret.
Yeah,
like all like the press outlets were pretending, like they were doing the interviews, like you kept this an entire secret. And I'm like, bullshit. You know that it wasn't kept. Stop. I get it. Like there's marketing synergy. They probably have an exclusive deal, but like it didn't happen. So don't lie about it. I don't know. Yeah, I'm very anal. I am super anal about like. Look, it's either you don't touch it or you say it as it is. You know what I mean? It's like either don't mention, but don't do the mental gymnastics of pretending something happened the way it didn't happen. I don't know, but that's movie journalism. Journalism as a whole is a lot of not real journalism. To be honest with you, it's a lot of marketing deals, and the film studios do too much business with the journalistic outlets. So I honestly don't think there's even the trades. I feel like are a bunch of bullshit. They're mostly studio mouthpieces, and they pay for their pieces, and just none of it feels right. I don't know. Movie journalism needs real journalism, but I don't really care about that so much anyhow. But I don't know. Tangent aside.
We'll always keep it real here at Jurassic Outpost. We'll tell you how much we hate something, and I goddamn hate Fallen Kingdom. But no, I think great scene. If you get the chance, go see it. And Chris and I wanted to kind of just break it down and go through it now that we've both had the chance to see it, and now that people have had a couple of weeks to go see it. And yeah, I think it's very cool. And if you look at the franchise as a whole right now, I mean, we've got Dominion coming out next year, but we've got Camp Cretaceous. Right now.
I think we're coming. From what we've heard, it's December.
Yeah, and you've got the Evolution announcement. Evolution's coming out at the end of this year. Evolution, very clearly, if you've seen the scene, very clearly ties to Dominion, and we know that just purely based on the freaking helicopter that's in it.
Yeah.
There's a lot that ties in, and this franchise is ever growing. And I think, I mean, the return of the InGeneral Podcast for the 9th time will be good because we have a nice run-up now for some really big projects.
There's a lot that we can talk about. I think that we could maybe do an episode even on like where do we think Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous will go with season 4, which of course we think it's
season
but we
4
could just say
discussion.
we can say right now before we get into it specifically in our own episode, it's totally going to Sorna.
Right?
I
think it's going to. You know what, Chris? I think season 4 is going to Isla Sorna.
You know what? I think it's going to Isla Sorna.
You think it's going to Isla Sorna? Interesting. Yeah.
I don't know if you think that.
No, I think it's going to Isla Sorna.
Oh, that's a good. That's interesting.
I think it's going to Site B. B. B.
I mean, there are 2 dinosaurs with islands on them. Wait.
I think Camp Cretaceous is going to Site B, but we will do
its
an
own
episode on that with our resident Camp Cretaceous fan.
I just do want to say, like, immediately as soon as we both saw season 3, we're both like, next season's going to Sorna, right? We're both
it was kind of obvious they're on the. But you're like, oh, so they get off the island, so that's the end of the show. It's like, nah,
it's got to go to. They need to go forward and not backwards. So. But they also need to keep the show with dinosaurs, so it's got to go to Sorna.
Kids, and also,
And here's one more thing before we leave it going. They keep saying that Camp Cretaceous is going to tie to Jurassic World Dominion. Do you remember what one of the first things that Colin released images from Jurassic World Dominion that Colin released? It was the container from Isla Sorna.
Dun dun dun. So, and in Dominion, when they open that container, it's full of the kids.
So it's what's left of them. Only the parts I didn't like.
Wow.
No. So I do think that Sorna is going to be. I think Sorna is going to, have a little bit to do with Dominion, and I think that Camp Cretaceous will play with that. Honestly, it makes sense. Or the Scorpius is like what's going to be in Dominion, but I feel like Sorna is going to be the key, or at least it's going to have some deep lore, some deep cuts where you go,
Yeah,
but we'll talk about that
it'll become more obvious. But let's save that for our Camp Cretaceous episode of the InGeneral. And the InGeneral back, there's going to be so much to talk about. There is so much to talk about. So let us know in whatever platform you're listening to this on. Let us know in the comments what you thought of the scene if you got the chance to see it. What you thought of the Giga versus T-Rex death match, the battle of the death. And what you think might happen over the next couple of months, too. Do you think there'll be more teasers? Do you think this tease will make it online? Just let us know what you're excited for in the franchise. I'm excited for Dominion. I'm excited for Evolution 2. I am excited for Camp Cretaceous Season 4, because I know that that's going to be... I mean, Season 3 was great, so I'm looking forward to Season 4. There is so much to look forward to, and as always, Jurassic Outpost can be a good hub to get that information down. We have a team of solid, excellent, top-notch writing staff, including Mr. Derek Davis himself.
Mr. Derek Davis himself. Not an imposter.
No, the real Derek Davis. We finally got him. We've had like 3 fakes.
That was awkward.
That was so weird having to be like, oh, okay, it's not the real one. But yeah, Derek Davis is the guy who spends the majority of his time getting John Hammond audio together for Jurassic Time. And I think most people have probably heard, listened to Jurassic Time, but it's
heard sound bites of it at least. Yeah,
it's from the Trespasser lore, and you got Richard Attenborough's voiceover. And
I don't need Trespasser to be canonical, but what I do want is that all that audio to be canonical. I would love if the films found a way to
such a great origin of Sorna and the hurricane and everything.
It seems like such a great thing to tap into for the films because barely anybody's experienced it, and it's a great way to continue John Hammond's story through new content. You know what I mean? Like, give John 100%. Hammond. John Hammond deserves one more. He deserves a good statement within the films. His voice deserves a good statement. He needs to have something to say, and all of that dialogue from Trespasser is a perfect place to tap into.
Truly is. And even the stuff, Derek uncovered a load of audio that was never in the game. It was hidden in the game files and stuff. And I could be wrong, but discovered even audio that wasn't in the game files and managed to get it from somewhere else, demos and things like that. So there's some really cool stuff that Derek's done. Anyway, Derek's been smashing out some articles. That was my point. JurassicOutpost.com for all your news and information. Obviously, you may be on the YouTube channel now if you're listening to this on YouTube. We have been smashing out videos to try and keep everybody up to date on what we know. And little bit for you. We know some stuff, and we subtly throw that stuff into videos under the guise of, could it be this? But it's actually truth. We're spitting truths, Chris. We'll just you got to read between the lines.
I'll read between your lines. What?
Go ahead. I have no comeback. But see, we have a great team of people keeping you up to date. So as always,
now I'm wondering about what
place to go.
I'm actually wondering about what videos you're referencing now. Now I'm like, do I need to come through these videos and see what truths have been spat?
We just we go through the final script and then I quickly make some modifications. I'm like, just chuck this in here. Between each line, the Dilophosaurus is back.
Cryolophosaurus. It's been retconned as Cryolophosaurus.
You can just hear there's echo. I build a whole soundscape in the background behind my audio voiceover, and it's just me whispering secrets of the upcoming season 4 takes place on Isla Sorna.
I don't know for a fact. Just to be clear, we really don't know for a fact. But I would bet so much on it. I'm so confident. I'm so confident about it that I feel like I know for a fact. But genuinely, I'm not sure. But I'm willing to basically say yes, it's absolutely Sorna.
Leave a comment down.
I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked if I was wrong. I'd be shocked. I mean, it's not like everyone's thinking it. Literally, everyone's thinking it.
It's gotta be Sorna.
It's gotta be Sorna.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let us know what you think season 4 is going to do, and let us know what you think if you got a chance to see the Dominion preview in the comments down below on whichever platform you're listening on. But thank you very much for listening to the InGeneral podcast. We're going to keep these going. Hopefully, the intention is the run up to Dominion is going to be a big one, and
maybe we can do the Sorna episode, the Camp Cretaceous episode. Maybe we can do it next week.
Yeah, let's get her done. There is a lot to talk about and a lot to do, but stay tuned. And it's a great time to be a Jurassic fan once again. We have some really exciting things coming out. Chris, thank you for joining me, my man.
Oh, anytime.
Anytime. Okay, can you do another one in 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
All right.
See you.
Bye.
All right, I'll catch you on the next one. And I guess we're approaching episode 100. So in 10 episodes time, I guess we need to do something special. We could do it live.
We could do another hot tub. We can do another hot tub one. Did we do a podcast in the hot tub?
We didn't do a podcast in the hot tub. We just enjoyed it.
It was a live stream. Oh no, we did do the live stream.
God, where were we in California?
Oh, I don't know. It was a random motel.
I can't remember the name of the town. It was not really it was one of those towns that's not a town. Why are you classifying this as a town? It's nothing. It's just a motel. But that was a lot of fun.
Yes.
Maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll go back to that town.
Maybe.
Yeah, we'll do something fun. But thank you for listening to the InGeneral podcast. And Chris, I will catch you on the next one.
Until next time.